Hello students, today we are going to discuss the topic Laws of Reflection from chapter 16 Light of class 8. The world is largely known through the senses. The sense of sight is one of the most important senses. Through it, we see mountains, rivers, trees, plants, people, and so many other things around us. At night, we see the moon and the stars. Now, the question arises, how is seeing made possible? What makes things visible? Have you ever thought how we see various objects? You may say that eyes see the objects, but can you see an object in the dark? It means that eyes alone cannot see any object. It is only when the light from an object enters our eyes we are able to see that object. The light may be emitted by the object like bulb or sun, or it may be reflected by it like the table in this case. So students, it leads us to a very important phenomena of science, that is, reflection of light. Reflection of light is the change in direction of a light ray at a boundary between two different media, so that the ray moves back into the medium it came from. Students, can you tell in which direction the light falling on a surface will be reflected? Let us find out by performing an activity. Fix a white sheet of paper on a table. Take a comb and close all its openings except one in the middle. You can use a strip of black paper for this purpose. Hold the comb perpendicular to the sheet of paper. Place a strip of plain mirror on the table. Now, throw light from a torch through the opening of the comb from one side. With slight adjustment of the torch and the comb, you will see a ray of light along the paper on the other side of the comb. After striking the mirror, the ray of the light is reflected in another direction. The light ray which strikes any surface is called the incident ray, and the ray that comes back from the surface after the reflection is known as the reflected ray. Draw lines showing the position of the plane mirror, the incident ray, and the reflected ray on the paper with the help of your friends, brothers, sisters, or parents. Remove the mirror and the comb. Draw a line making an angle of 90 degrees to the line representing the mirror at the point where the incident ray strikes the mirror. The line is known as the normal to the reflecting surface at that point. So students, we have drawn an incident ray, then the reflected ray, and a normal. Now, the angle between the normal and the incident ray is called angle of incidence, and the angle between the normal and the reflected ray is called the angle of reflection. Please measure the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection. Repeat the activity several times by changing the angle of incidence. Enter your data in the table given here. That is, write the angle of incidence and then the corresponding angle of reflection. Do you see any relation between the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection? So students, you have found out that the angle of incidence is approximately equal to angle of reflection. Why I am saying the word approximately? Because to be accurate, the experiment should be carried out carefully. This leads us to the first law of reflection, which states that the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. Now let's perform another activity on reflection and explore what we get. Students, the setup of the activity is same as that of the previous one, but this time use a sheet of stiff paper or a chart paper. Let the sheet project a little beyond the edge of the table. Cut the projecting portion of the sheet in the middle. Look at the reflected ray. Make sure that the reflected ray extends to the projected portion of the paper. Bend that part of the projected portion on which reflected ray falls. Can you still see the reflected ray? Bring the paper back to the original position. Can you see the reflected ray again? What do you infer? When you bend the paper, you create a plane different from the plane in which the incident ray and the normal lie. Then you do not see the reflected ray. When the whole sheet of paper is spread on the table, it represents one plane. The incident ray, the normal at the point of incidence, and the reflected ray are all in this plane. What does this indicate? It indicates that the incident ray, the normal at the point of incidence, and the reflected ray, they all lie in the same plane. This is another law of reflection. Students, after studying reflection and laws of reflection, let's see different types of reflection. There are basically two types of reflection: regular and diffused reflection. Regular reflection, when all the parallel rays reflected from a plane surface are parallel, the reflection is known as regular reflection. We can also say reflection from a smooth surface like that of a mirror is called regular reflection. Images are formed by regular reflection. When all the parallel rays reflected from a plane surface are not parallel, the reflection is known as diffused or irregular reflection. Remember that the diffused reflection is not due to the failure of the laws of reflection. It is caused by the irregularities in the reflecting surface, like that of a cardboard. In the first part of the image, we can see a clear reflection of the board, which is an example of regular reflection, whereas in the second part we see a blurred reflection of the board. It is an example of diffused reflection. Students, after this discussion, you must reflect on the topic and answer a few questions. First, where do you find the reflection of light in your daily life? Write few examples. Second, give few examples of objects from your surroundings which emits light and which reflects light. Find angle of reflection. The incident ray makes angle of 10 degrees with the plane. You have to find the angle of reflection and then trace the path of reflected ray. Regular or diffused. Between these two figures, identify the figure showing regular and diffused reflection. Students, I hope you will explore the concept of reflection in your surroundings, and in your day-to-day life, and internalize the concept. Thank you, students.